Hello, I'm Vika Vinogradova from the Recipes for Lazybones channel. In this video, you will see very simple to prepare, quite budget friendly, at least most of the recipes will be just like that. Easy, classy dinners. They're ideal when you lack time or inclination for lengthy kitchen sessions. Chop the onion, immediately start frying it and simultaneously grate the carrot. Once the onion browns, in about a minute or two, add the carrot. While it's frying, we deal with the zucchini. We cut them into cubes. We require either a large zucchini or a few small ones. After sauteing the carrot for 3 to 4 minutes, add 14 ounces of minced meat. I mix beef and pork, and in about 5 minutes, our ground meat looked like this. We add zucchini to it, and we fry it on medium heat for another 5 minutes. Then we season this well. We add black ground pepper and spices to taste. I used dried basil and added 0.7 ounces of tomato sauce. We simmer crushed tomatoes on medium heat under a lid for 10 minutes to create a delicious, juicy dinner. For the next recipe, we'll prepare Georgian-style chicken fillet. Place the thigh fillet around 600 grams on a heated frying pan. It's juicier. Fry it lightly on both sides, but don't fully cook it. In the meantime, chop fresh greens like parsley or dill, add 4 garlic cloves, and mix with 50 milliliters of water. Remember to flip the chicken occasionally. Lastly, add 300 milliliters of broth to the greens. A 10% or 20% fat content is fine. Sprinkle 2 teaspoons of caraway and half a teaspoon of ground coriander. We mixed all of this, and as our chicken has browned, we salt it, pepper it, and pour the mixture of juices and greens over it. Then we let it simmer for 20 to 25 minutes. During this time, the chicken absorbs the cream sauce and fully cooks. The outcome is a highly palatable dish, not in glasses. Removing this dish filled with such amazing aromas fills your entire home so much that you'll want to cook it again and again. The chicken is juicy, spicy, and straightforward. Today's video sponsor can help eliminate garlic odor and maintain your teeth's health and whiteness. This is the Revealine company. Revealine is a reliable brand for dental care. The Revealine electric toothbrush is perfect for quality tooth cleaning. It works on the principle of sound, providing up to 37,500 brush strokes per minute. Its premium bristles gently and effectively clean teeth, while its moisture-protective body and battery life up to 180 days make it perfect for travel. Don't forget the extra convenience. It comes with a travel pouch and 2 replacement heads. For delicate cleaning, the Revealine S6000 Slim Brush is perfect. Available in 4 bright colors. The brush is equipped with rounded bristle ends, making it comfortable for caring for sensitive teeth, as well as for braces, crowns, bridges, and implants. In addition, Revealine offers a huge assortment of toothpastes, suitable for both children and adults. You can choose a classic mint paste or enjoy the taste of chocolate and cookies. The paste effectively whitens enamel, protects against cavities, and is made from natural components, so you can take care of your smile with confidence. And for special occasions, you can order a gift package on the marketplace. Give your loved ones a toothbrush and Revealine toothpaste so they too can enjoy a beautiful and healthy smile just like you. Links to order Revealine on marketplaces will be in the description under the video. And we return to the recipe. I want to show you a very interesting pork dinner. This will be so Chinese for us. We take 600 grams of pork. I've already cut it into pieces. Pour in a couple of tablespoons of soy sauce and leave it to marinate for 10 minutes. Meanwhile, let's deal with the eggplant. We cut it into cubes, salt it, but not too much because we will be stewing it in soy sauce later. And sprinkle it with caraway seeds. I took cornstarch, but you can use potato starch. A few tablespoons of starch suffice for the eggplant. We drench the eggplants and fry them on a well-heated frying pan so that our eggplants are browned. The roasting will take only a few minutes. Then we take the eggplants off the fire and similarly coat the pork pieces in breadcrumbs. Overall, the recipe requires around 5 to 6 tablespoons of starch. We also fry the pork on high heat so that it gets covered with a crust and our starch batter sticks. While the pork is frying, we cut the bell peppers. 2-3 pieces size dependent. It will look very beautiful if you take peppers of different colors. The dish will be festive. We cut the peppers large and set them aside for now. We also chop the red onion large. Once the meat has browned, we remove it from the pan and in its place we put the onion. You don't need to add oil, The remnants from the pork are quite enough. Pour 3 tablespoons of soy sauce and 1 tablespoon of vinegar into the bowl. I took apple, but you can take regular 9% table vinegar. Add a teaspoon of dried garlic, a teaspoon of dried ginger, a teaspoon of hot red pepper, and a teaspoon of sugar. Stir it and we will stew our ingredients in this sauce. As the onion browns a bit, add pepper and fry for a few more minutes, concurrently chopping a bunch of greens such as parsley, dill, or green onion. Then we send the fried eggplants and pork to the vegetables. Pour the mixture based on soy sauce, add greens and stew under the lid for another 10 to 15 minutes until the pork is ready. We cut the chicken fillet into small pieces. I have 800 grams here. For this amount of chicken, 2 proteins will be needed. We add to them 2 tablespoons of starch and 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. We blend it into a small foam and pour it onto the chicken to marinate for at least 20 minutes up to an hour. Then we heat a frying pan, add oil, and fry the chicken on high heat from both sides. The protein turns into such a thin, accurate batter. As soon as the batter has browned, we pour in soy sauce, add a little garlic, dried or fresh, and stew for a few more minutes until the chicken is ready. If preferred, sprinkle sesame seeds on the cooked chicken when serving. And that's how you get such a flavorful, delicious fish. We cut the onion head into half rings, cut the cucumber into cubes. We cut a medium-sized carrot into small pieces. We will also need 300 grams of pork. We cut the meat and then put the pan on the fire, add oil and first fry the vegetables for 5 minutes. After that, we add the pork, fry for another 5 minutes, pour in a glass of water, salt, pepper, cover with a lid and stew on low heat for 40 minutes. The pork turns out to be very juicy. It tastes very good with squash. And I also have very cool, tasty, and quite budget-friendly dinners based on potatoes for you. The options are very diverse. Cut the potatoes into medium-sized pieces. Chop 5 sausages, approximately 7 ounces. You can take regular milk sausages, or you can take ones with a smoked flavor. It'll be yummier. Chop a sweet pepper. If you want, in addition to it, you can add a little hot pepper for piquancy. Salt it. You can add dried paprika, dried crushed garlic, and a mix of peppers. Add a couple of tablespoons of mayonnaise and mix. Grease the baking dish with vegetable oil and lay out the vegetables with sausages. Bake for about 40 minutes until the potatoes are done. If desired, you can grate a little cheese, about 50 grams, and sprinkle it 5 minutes before it's done. You get such a cool baked potato dish. It's extremely hearty and delicious. Any pickles or cornichons will do. I'm telling you now, I'm making a large batch, so we're slicing many cucumbers. For instance, if preparing for 2 or 3 individuals, ideally 3 or 4 cucumbers suffice. Finely chop and put in bowl. Next we take a red onion. For my huge portion, I'm cutting half an onion. Limit yourself to chiffonade. Also finely add it to the cucumbers. We also gather a variety of greens, based on preference. Dill, even when taken alone, tastes great with green onions. With cilantro, it'll be great if you like it. Add a few tablespoons of sour cream to all this beauty. Choose a fatty one, around 15-20%. Add some mustard, salt, pepper, a dash of lemon juice, and stir. Then we take the most ordinary boiled potato. We chopped it. Any meat can go into the potato. I have roasted beef. You can choose pork, beef, or duck on a tablet. And generously spread the sour cream, sauce, addition. In combination with boiled potatoes, it's so tasty. Really, believe me. We grate about 50 grams of cheese, take about half a kilo of boiled potatoes, and make puree out of it. Everything is standard. We mash it, pour a little warm milk, add a piece of butter to make it tasty. Salt it if you boil the potato in unsalted water. And in the end, in the ready puree, we add about 3/4 of the grated cheese. We should have a little cheese left. Sprinkle it on top. Mix the cheese with the puree. Take a baking form, a sufficiently large one in size, grease it with vegetable oil, and lay out the puree. in an even layer. It should not be very thick. Then with the help of a spoon or something else suitable and small in diameter, we make a deepening. You can go right to the bottom if it doesn't turn out very accurately. Don't worry at all. This is all then easily corrected. With a spoon, we correct any irregularities if they appeared. And then in each deepening, we add tomato sauce. You can use ketchup or make a ketchup sauce. Or, for example, take barbecue sauce. We get about 1 teaspoon of depth somewhere. Next, we use 14 ounces of minced meat. I have a mix of beef and pork. You can use chicken or turkey. Season with salt, pepper, and spices. I used a spice mix for the stuffing. We mixed all of this. We split the stuffing based on the puree's indentations. I ended up with 10 pieces, and we put a pepper in the center of each meatball. I took marinated spicy jalapeno. You can take a sweet pepper, cut it into pieces, and also put it. For instance, you can use half a cherry tomato. It will also be quite juicy and tasty. You can take a piece of boiled egg or butter and put it inside. We put the rolled ball in the indentation on the tomato sauce. Sprinkle the remaining cheese on top and send it to the oven for 25 minutes until the stuffing is ready. You get such an original dinner in its own way. A puree with cheese, it's simply divine. The meatballs are soaked in tomato sauce. It also contains a bit of pepper for zest. Everything is beautiful in this dinner. You can use potatoes to make not just puree, but also boil them, create casseroles, and fry them. But you can make very tasty waffles, which will be perfect for dinner. It's strange, they're incredibly delicious with cheese and bacon. I believe you haven't tried this before. We use a few large potatoes, approximately 450 grams in total. We directly cut them into the blender. We will grind them now. We blend in the blender. We get such a mash, something like a puree. Quickly, we sprinkle and squeeze out the juice and moisture from the potato, because when we ground it now, it releases a lot of liquid. We don't need it in the recipe, we remove it. We are left with something like a puree, only in a raw version for now. We put all this into a bowl, break 1 egg there, salt it, add spices to taste. I took sweet ground paprika and ground dried garlic. Add a tablespoon of onion here and mix. We get such a consistency really similar to mashed potatoes. Next, we take a waffle iron or a multi-baker, heat it up and lay out strips of bacon on it. As soon as the bacon is browned, we remove it from the waffle iron and lay out our mashed potatoes here. For instance, it's still in its raw form for us. We didn't do anything to the potato, it stayed raw on the grater. We put about 2 tablespoons on the baking sheet. For skillet preparation, use slightly less of the same volume. We lay the fried bacon strips on top, and on them loads of cheese. The cheese is left on a flat surface with potato wire residues to prevent it from sticking to the waffle iron. Close it and bake for 4 minutes at 150 degrees. Okay, 4 minutes have passed. We open the waffle iron, take out our beauty and serve it. It's delicious and pairs well with sour cream. We grate 3.5 ounces of regular semi-hard cheese. We send it to a large bowl. We also crack a few eggs there, lightly salting them. We squeeze out a couple of tablespoons of mayonnaise. You can take sour cream instead. And we add dried or fresh garlic. Mix everything well, including boiled potatoes. It's simpler to purchase it pre-made. It's available in almost any supermarket. We just need to cut it into small pieces so it's easy to eat later. I have 1.1 pounds of potatoes. We also cut it and send it directly to the common bowl. We salt it and mix it. Thanks to the mayonnaise cheese egg mixture, the potatoes will turn out appetizing, fragrant, and incredibly tasty. Next, all that's left is to take any large baking dish, lightly grease it with vegetable oil, and lay out the sausages in it. I have pork sausages, but you can choose chicken. Their total weight is 400 grams. The sausages are semi-finished, that is, they are still raw, but we will bake them now. We lay out potatoes between the sausages, and all this needs to be sent to the oven. We will bake at 200 degrees for 20 minutes so that the sausages are baked and everything is beautifully browned. We take it out of the oven. Believe me, the smells in the apartment will be amazing. Everything is incredibly tasty. You get a great hearty dinner for several people. The sausage is juicy, the potatoes are soft and tasty. What more do you need for joy? Overall, an excellent recipe. I also want to tempt you with very tasty dinners where there are quite a lot of vegetables. We take zucchini or cucumbers and slice them. Not too thick, so it would be convenient to roll them up later. We arrange them on a baking sheet, season with salt and vegetable oil, and bake at 180 degrees for 15 minutes. Meanwhile, we grate 3.52 ounces of cheese. We put most of the cheese directly into the mixture and leave just a little bit for sprinkling. We chop a bunch of greens, add 150 grams of cottage cheese, and squeeze out a couple of cloves of garlic. We mix all this together. This will be our filling, which we will use to stuff the rolls. We spread this filling on the prepared slices and roll them up. We spread a little tomato sauce on the bottom of the baking dish. We place the rolls on top of it. We pour a little more tomato sauce on top of them and sprinkle with cheese. We send it to the oven for literally 2 to 3 minutes just to melt the cheese. That's it, dinner's ready. Simple. The squash becomes soft, juicy, and cheesy. The tomato sauce adds interest. In general, it's really very tasty. We need approximately 1.32 pounds of chicken fillet. I have a breast fillet that we slice lengthwise to make thinner pieces. We lay it out in a baking dish. We salted and peppered it, and now we move on to the eggplant. 1 piece of medium size is enough. That's about 400 grams. Slice into circles and place on the chicken. Also, use a few tomatoes, about 4 medium-sized ones, approximately 400 grams in weight. We slice and spread out the boiled eggplant, seasoning it with salt. All that's left is to blend 4 tablespoons of sour cream, a few garlic cloves, and 3.5 ounces of shredded cheese. After combining, we spread this mixture over the vegetables and bake at 180 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes until the chicken is cooked. The chicken turns out to be baked. It's very juicy thanks to the eggplants and tomatoes with a flavorful appetizing cheese crust. The chicken is soaked in juices and it's very tasty. Rinse 3.52 ounces of rice and cook it until half done, approximately 10 minutes. While our rice is cooking, we measure 20 grams of minced meat, 20 grams of cabbage finely chopped, add salt, pepper, 1 egg, then 1 carrot and 1 onion. Either we grind it manually or quickly grind it in a blender. We also send all this to the minced meat. Here we lay out the half-cooked rice and mix everything well. We form the patties and first fry them in vegetable oil so they brown and hold together. From the specified amount of ingredients, I got 14 patties. While they are frying, mix 70 grams of tomato paste and 2 tablespoons of sour cream. Add water to the eye. The water should almost completely cover the patties. Simmer covered on low heat for 20 minutes. And it's all ready. Take the head of the onion, chop it up and send it to the blender. We also throw in the chopped raw carrot there. Such a carrot is typically large. Also, about 11.99 ounces of white cabbage. We also divide it into pieces and put it in the blender. In principle, if there is no blender, all this can be cut and grated independently. Here we add 1 ripe tomato and blend it. The vegetables are mashed into such a puree. We move them into a large bowl and add half a kilo of minced meat. I took beef and also a cup of rice. I soaked it in boiling water for 2 hours. But you can skip soaking and just cook it until it's done. We season it well, add pepper, add spices to taste. This is my stuffing mix. And into this culinary madness, we add 2 to 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise and the same amount of ketchup or tomato sauce. You can even add more tomato sauce if you want the bake to be really juicy. With the current proportions, it will be more on the dry side. We transfer everything into a baking dish and send it to the oven for 40 minutes until it's ready. This is how the casserole looks after baking. We lay it out, and on top of it, you add some mayonnaise or sour cream. And that's it, we eat. In terms of taste, it really is very similar to lazy pigeons. For dinner, we will need an eggplant. 1 medium-sized eggplant is enough for 3 to 4 servings. We cut it into slices. They should be about 1.18 inches thick. We will be baking the eggplant, so if you cut it too thin, it will end up dry. We grease the baking dish with vegetable oil and lay out the eggplant. We salt it and set it aside for now. Also, the recipe requires a few garlic cloves. If you like it spicy, you can take 1 or 2 hot chili peppers. You will also need a couple of small-sized tomatoes. We cut them into several pieces and also need a bunch of fresh greens. I took dill, but parsley will also work great. We put all these ingredients in a blender. We grind it into a mush like this. We pour everything into a bowl. Now, instead of vegetables, we put chicken fillet in the blender. I have a 1.76 pounds thigh fillet here. We also grind it with a blender to make a mince. We send this mince to the ground vegetables, salt it, pepper it, and mix everything well. This filling needs to be laid out on the eggplants. If you have a pastry bag or a thick bag, you can transfer the mince into it and squeeze it out like this. This will be quicker, simpler, and more precise. But if there is no pastry bag, nothing terrible, you can just evenly put the mince on each piece of eggplant, for example with a fork. Send all this to the oven for 25 minutes. In the meantime, we grate the cheese. We will need just a little, about 50 grams. After 25 minutes, we remove the eggplants. By this time, the stuffing should already be prepared. Sprinkle the top with cheese and put it back in the oven for literally 4 to 5 minutes so the cheese melts. This is what the dish will look like when it's ready. You get such appetizing portioned eggplants. The stuffing, thanks to the tomatoes and greens, is incredibly juicy, aromatic, and in my case, a bit spicy. The cheese nicely enhances the dish. You must try it, I'm sure you'll like it. Well, I also know that not everyone eats meat. Even those who do, for example, dinner, try to make it lighter, only vegetable, vegetarian, and in such a case, there are also a few lazy recipes for you. Into boiling water, we send 400 grams of cabbage, I took frozen, and cook for 10 minutes. In parallel, we cut 400 grams of tomatoes into small pieces. While our cabbage is boiling, we fry the tomatoes in a skillet for 5 minutes to soften them. As soon as the cabbage is cooked, we add it to the tomatoes, salt it, and then add spices to taste. I took some jalapeno pepper, ground turmeric, and ground paprika. We add 400 grams of canned beans and simmer for literally a couple of minutes so that all the ingredients are infused with the spices. We take 300 grams of peeled pumpkin and a couple of cloves of garlic. You can grate it, but it's easier and faster to blend everything in a blender. We season with salt, pepper, and optional crushed paprika as per your taste. Add 1 egg to it, sprinkle 2 tablespoons of flour, mix and form the pancakes. Fry them on a well-heated pan from both sides with a sufficient amount of vegetable oil. The pancakes cook very quickly, literally 1 minute on each side. Turn them over carefully, because the pancakes are very delicate in texture, but if you want, you can make them thicker. Just add more flour. You get such a pile of pancakes. They are salty, honest, spicy, and very cool. We chopped a large sweet pepper. We finally chop half a head of red onion. We start frying the onion. Immediately add a pinch of ground coriander, half a teaspoon of dried garlic, half a teaspoon of ground turmeric, half a teaspoon of ground ginger, and half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. Stir fry for a few minutes to soften the onion and infuse the oil with spices. Add bell pepper and canned beans. I took 2 cans, one with white beans, the other with red beans. Simmer for another 4 minutes on low heat, after which we add a sprig of finely chopped fresh dill to the ready garnish. It's ready! By the way, a light dinner can be made if you use fish instead of meat. It's both beneficial and quite nutritious, and at the same time our body is not overloaded and the stomach can rest during sleep instead of trying to digest what you ate. For the recipe, I took a 600-gram halibut steak. We lay out the fish in a baking dish, salt it, pepper it, add dried thyme, dried garlic, and smear it with vegetable oil. We turn it over and place about 150 to 7 ounces of cherry tomato halves among the fish. We season the fish and now the tomatoes in the same manner. You can replace tarragon with oregano or marjoram. They resemble croutons significantly. A hint of dried garlic, slight vegetable oil. All this enters the oven for roughly 20 minutes until the fish is done. Steak size determines the cooking time. If the pieces are small, 15 minutes suffice. We cut the button into pieces. I took a couple of spoons. Button is a sweet potato, and we will make puree from it. We're sending it to boil. We assess readiness as with a normal potato. Once the fruits soften, take them off the heat and drain the water. We salt the boiled water, add a piece of butter, and blend with a submersible blender until it becomes a homogeneous puree. Alternatively, without a blender, just mash it with a regular puree dish. We put the ready puree on a plate, add spinach for brightness and benefit of the dish. Here we also put baked fish and a little tomatoes. We will get a very tasty combination of tender aromatic fish with sweet puree and acidity from tomatoes. We finally chop a small onion head, grate it into a small carrot, and chop a good bunch of parsley. We add canned fish. I purchased a herring, 2 cans totaling 1.08 pounds. We chop the fish into pieces. We remove any bones or scales. The bones in canned fish are soft and not frightening upon close inspection, but it's still preferable to remove all that's cut. We add an egg here, slightly salted, stir it and sprinkle 2 tablespoons of flour. We form the patties. I made 6 pieces weighing about 105 grams each. And that's it, we prepare them like normal patties. You don't need to cook them for long, as the fish inside is not raw, it's already ready to eat from the can. Once the patty's brown, everything's ready. Any red fatty fish from the salmon family will do. I took a chum salmon. Here are 400 grams of fillet. Cut it into small pieces, about this size. Pour a little vegetable oil into the pan. Add a piece of butter. And right into the oil, we sprinkle dried garlic, dried basil, and a little nutmeg. Add the fish and fry literally for a minute to infuse it with all these aromas and spices. Instead of dried basil, any dried herbs are suitable. For example, Provençal, French, you can take dill or oregano. After frying the fish, we add cream. 10% is sufficient, roughly 105.07 fluid ounces based on the pan's size. We season it and simmer it on low heat under a lid for 7 to 8 minutes while we boil the pasta in salted water. Once the fish is cooked, we add the boiled pasta directly into the sauce and carefully stir it to avoid damaging the delicate fish. While our pasta is hot, we top it with grated cheese. Lastly, drizzle with a reserved sauce like Parmesan. Well, and a few very simple and lazy dinner recipes. We cut chicken fillet into small pieces. Cut it and immediately mix in the sauce. We take 3 to 4 tablespoons of soy sauce, a teaspoon of honey, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, or you can use lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of ketchup or tomato sauce. Squeeze out a couple of garlic cloves, add a little dried ginger and hot red pepper. We mix all this, and we also take any noodle and boil it. I, for example, took 2 packs of instant noodles, well, something like ramen. I added salt and poured boiling water over it. I omitted the packet spices, and it's okay without them. Put the skillet on the fire, add a little vegetable oil and fry the chicken on high heat until it turns golden brown. The chicken fries quite quickly, literally 5 minutes, and it's ready. After that, we reduce the heat to the minimum and pour our sauce. We simmer for another 5 minutes, stirring occasionally. Then we prepare the dinner, arranging the noodles, which are already cooked by now. On top of it, we put the chicken, pour the remaining sauce, and you can additionally garnish and sprinkle with sesame seeds for beauty. The chicken and noodles, because of the sauce, are very spicy, savory, and have a sour, sweet taste. It reminds me of some kind of Chinese or Korean dish. We will need an oven. We remove the peel from it and cut it into pieces. You can take about 3 to 400 grams of liver in total. We dip each piece into flour. We cut the onion into half rings. First, we saute the onion for 3 to 4 minutes on high heat. Add the liver, a few spoons of sour cream. You need about 60 grams of sour cream. Pour in 50 milliliters of water, salt, pepper, stir and simmer under a lid for 15 minutes until the liver is ready. The liver turns out to be very tender, soft with a pleasant creamy taste. Mix a few eggs and milk in a bowl. You need about 100 milliliters of milk. Cut up a few sausages. Cut the tomato into cubes. Take a little sweet pepper, also cut it, and about 50 cheese. Cut it into tiny pieces. Grease the baking dish with butter. Take regular white bread or a non-sweet loaf, soak it in the egg mixture and lay it on the bottom of the dish. If there are any gaps, just take smaller pieces of bread and fill them in. On top, we lay out our sausages with vegetables and cheese. Pour over the remaining egg mixture and send it to the oven for literally 15 minutes. It turns out very tasty. You can cook this not only for dinner, but also for breakfast or, for example, lunch or a snack. Grate 100 grams of semi-hard cheese. Better to use a fine grater. Send it to the mixer. Also add 50 grams of butter. If it's straight from the fridge, you can slightly warm it up at a low temperature in the microwave to soften the butter. Cut a bunch of fresh greens. I have parsley, but crops like dill, green onions, or spinach would also work great. Send it to the cheese with oil and stir for a minute or two until the mass becomes homogeneous. Then we transfer it into a casing and form the sausage. By the way, it's well prepared. It can be used later for other dishes during frying or baking to make the meat, or let's say the potato, more tasty and juicy. rolled it into a sausage and put it in the freezer for 10 minutes. Pound 800 grams of chicken fillet, a small onion head, and 2 to 3 garlic cloves. It's best to alternate this between each other. If there is no meat grinder, a blender will also handle this task excellently. Or you can buy ready-made chicken mince and grate onion and garlic. We salt and pepper the mince well and mix it. Thanks to the onion, the meat will be very juicy and the garlic will add aroma and piquancy. We split the mince into 8. To get equal pieces, you can use kitchen scales. One piece will weigh around 100 grams, allowing for a slight margin. We take the sausage out of the freezer and also cut it into 8 parts. All that's left is to form the patties. We put a piece of cheese with butter in the center, beat it a little so that the patties hold their shape better, and it's ready. The patties turn out to be quite substantial in size, so it's enough either for a large family, or if you live alone or in a couple, you can cook some right away and put some in the freezer for next time. We roll everything in breadcrumbs and fry on medium heat with enough oil for a few minutes on each side under a lid. You get such a rumpled beauty. Incredibly juicy due to the onion and due to the butter, which soaks the stuffing from the inside. A real tasty treat with a cheese filling. That's how the video turned out. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to like and comment. That's it from me. Stay cheerful. Goodbye, everyone.